on today's StoryBeat.
Everything that this business allows me to do to be creative, if I can do it, I will do it. I was born to do what I do. That's the only way I can explain it. And for me not to do what I do, I'd be 6 foot under.
This is StoryBeat with Steve Cuden, a podcast for the creative mind. StoryBeat explores how masters of creativity develop and produce brilliant works that people everywhere love and admire. So join us as we discover how talented creators find success in the worlds of imagination and entertainment. Here now is your host, Steve Cuden.
Thanks for joining us on StoryBeat. We're coming to you from the Steel City, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, I'm thrilled to welcome to StoryBeat for the second time the world-renowned rock and roll singer, songwriter, musician, poet, and author, Suzi Quatro. Suzi's been writing and performing music since she was in her teens and is widely considered to be one of the most influential rock bassists and singers of her generation. Suzi has sold over 55 million records, putting out such hits as 48 Crash, Devil Gate Drive, The Wild One, She's in Love with You, If You Can't Give Me Love, and her duet with Chris Norman, Stumblin In. Suzi's also well known for playing Leather Tuscadero on the TV series Happy Days, as well as for her various other TV appearances. Suzi turned her best-selling autobiography Unzipped into her one-woman show, which premiered at London's Hippodrome in 2007. A prolific poet and writer, Suzi has published such books of poetry as Through My Eyes, Through My Heart, Through My Words, and Through My Thoughts. Her first novel, The Hurricane, was released in 2017, and she recently published her latest novel, Grave Undertakings. I've read Grave Undertakings and can tell you, it's a fantastic dive into the minds of a college psychology class and what happens when the small group of students and their professor analyze themselves and one another, revealing their own inner lives and sensibilities. This is the rare work of fiction that I believe should be taught in psychology classes everywhere. Aside from her wonderful writing, Suzi continues to tour and release new albums. So, for all those reasons and many more, I'm deeply honored to welcome back to StoryBeat the exceptionally multi-talented rock icon and writer, Suzi Quatro. Suzi, so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Thank you. And, I just wonder if you could make that intro a little bit nicer.
I'll take two. Here we go for the nicer intro.
No, keep it like that.
So obviously you've been busy writing both poetry and prose. Do you have new music in the works too? Are you working on music?
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. In fact, I'm still working with my son heavily. He's so talented. I had
Hmm.
no idea. We are now on my third solo album with him,
Wow.
and we've got 14 tracks ready to go. Probably all of them won't make it, but you don't know till you get in the studio. I have 2 duets on the album. The rest is just me. I've done something with Alice Cooper, very special. I was
Oh,
in
wow.
Detroit last September. I can't speak about it yet, but we did a track together. He agreed to appear on my album. So
Wow.
I'm really excited, and I need one girl too, so I want one of each. We start May the 9th, 10th, and 11th with the bass and the drums. So when I get back to my trip from Germany, we're in the studio.
So have you known Alice Cooper for a long time?
Since I've been 14,
Oh, is that all?
we are such old friends. One of my dearest friends, actually.
He is truly an icon, no question about it. And people know who he is no matter where you go.
Yeah.
You can say Alice Cooper, they know who you mean. So I think that's great. I can't wait to hear what it comes out and sounds like.
Oh, and we got video too. Tease,
Wow.
tease, tease.
Indeed. So I notice on your website that you have a really busy touring schedule coming up for the rest of this year. We're in 2025 right now. And I'm just wondering what drives you? What keeps you moving forward and taking on new challenges and continuing to tour? What drives you?
I guess I asked myself that. It's the fire in my belly. I never seem to lose it. I am an artiste, which I am. And everything that this business allows me to do to be creative, if I can do it, I will do it.
Hmm.
I love acting. I love talk shows. I love musicals. I love poetry. I love novels. I love psychology. I love playing my bass. I love doing my gigs. I was born to do what I do. That's the only way I can explain it. And for me not to do what I do, I'd be 6 foot under.
Well, well, let's not get there just yet.
No, not yet.
No, not yet. So obviously, you are a explosively creative person. You are just always on fire, I guess.
I am.
Does it ever wear you out? And how do you deal with it if it does wear you out?
I have come to terms with it and know that when this hits me, whenever it may be, if it's a song or a lyric or whatever it is, I have to let it out. I have to get it on paper. I have to pick up on my bass. I have to go to the piano. I can't leave it inside. I can't leave any creation inside. And you don't know when it's coming. You have no idea. A lot of times, I'm one of these people that'll be having dinner with somebody or having a talk, having a laugh or a joke, and I'll say something, and it'll be so profound because I tend to speak poetically. I don't know why, but I do. Don't ask me why. I'll get a napkin. A lot of my songs and stuff are born on a napkin,
Well,
and I'll write it down right in the middle of the conversation. So when something hits me, it hits me, and if I don't let it out, it's like poison in me. I have to get it out of my system. I'm the same when I'm angry about something. If I'm mad at you for something, I have to tell you, and then it's out.
well, okay. So I know from reading your work, both your poetry and your novel, that you write as poetically as you speak. So that's just innate in you, that sort of
Yeah.
poetic way of expressing yourself.
Yeah, and I don't know where it comes from. I mean, to be quite honest, like let's say I've written a poem and then I put it on the paper and I leave it for the night and I go by the next day. I'm really wondering where it came from. I sort of read it and I go, that's not me, but it was me. So when I'm creating, I sort of go into a different space. And many times, I think other artists will probably tell you this too. You're not actually aware of what you're doing. And you're surprised when you read it back or hear it back if you've written a tune. And you think, oh God, that's down on tape. Now I could not go to bed. You play it back and go, oh, it's like you're surprised. Who's that? That's the beauty of creation.
Of course. Well, I've been, interviewed more than 350 people on this show so far. And one of the themes that's in it, because it's all about creativity, is how many artists say that it's coming through them. The art is coming through them. They're not generating it. They're sort of a conduit from wherever.
You have been allowed, and all these other artists that say it with me, we agree. I've been allowed to take down dictation.
Mm.
So I've been given the antenna and it just flies.
Do you get into what people think of as the zone, or where you're working and time flies by and it's 3 hours later and you don't know where it went?
Oh God, yeah. But when creation hits you, you've got to divorce yourself from this body and this personality and just divorce yourself and just go with the flow. I'm sure other artists will tell you the same. You could be sitting at the piano doing a song and you're lost for a line. Okay. Sometimes you stop and you go, what's in it? And it just goes and you close your eyes. Phew. Thank you.
That's for sure.
Whoever you are. Thank you. Yeah, it's called being an artist. Yeah, like I said, the only way I can explain it is you have very, very sensitive antenna. Your feelers are always out, and you are very sensitive, and everything affects you. That unfortunately, that's the downside.
Well, that is the
You're
downside.
very oh Jesus Christ, I'm so sensitive and I get hurt so easy. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have the artistry.
You're never turned off. You're always on.
Always on.
Always on. So, you've been touring and playing in front of audiences for a very long time now. Does that ever happen to you while you're in the middle of a performance where you get an inspiration for something?
Oh, sometimes you can do that. I'm 61 years in the business now. There have been times when I've been on the stage and done a song, and there's the applause. And then before you can do the next song, the applause is going someplace else. And you just have to wait. The most amazing thing happened to me recently. I think it was last year in Hamburg. I did a big, big gig here. And I walked on stage and they, applause, applause, loud. Yeah, Susie, better. And I got to the mic ready to speak, to start the first song. It was right. And they just went to this level higher, higher, higher. And me, as a long in the tooth performer, I thought to myself, I cannot start this song until they are ready to let me start this song. And I just waited. And finally, I felt them just slightly coming, and I went, "Oh my life, I wanted to be somebody." So, but it was funny because without that experience and that instinct, I might have done the song, and to have done the song too quickly would actually have been rude because you were stopping them from giving me the homage they wanted to give me, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Well,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
at this point, you know how to read an audience and when they're
And I read it, and
right.
I thought, just shut up, Susie. Shut
I
up.
think that's one of the hallmarks of new performers or young performers is they don't know when to get in or when to stop, when to pause.
I gotta tell you though, to be honest, I don't think I have certain rules in my life that I've stuck by, certain truths. I don't think you can teach two things. You can't teach anybody instinct for an audience. You can't teach them. They either have that inbuilt or they don't. You can hone it, you can get it to the high skill, but you can't teach it. The same thing as you can't teach feeling.
That's for sure.
I've had many guitar players in my band, and when I'm auditioning for a new guitar player, I make them play Sweet Little Rock and Roller
Okay.
because you can play all the right notes in that song and it's completely wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know it.
Yeah.
And they can play it wonderful, but it's wrong. So, and you could never tell that guitar player that it's wrong. He'd say, why? You couldn't explain. It's just, it feels wrong.
There's no passion. They just don't feel what it's supposed to feel like.
Exactly right. And you know it, it hits you, yourself when you hear something musically, it either hits you in the gut or it doesn't. You have some marvelous, marvelous singers who are beyond talented, but some of them do not touch me.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
This happens to all of us. Big artists, you kind of go, I don't get it.
They're technically perfect, but they may not have that
Yes,
thing that touches the audience.
it's got to be from the heart.
And you know what? The audiences are very smart and they know it too. They can feel it.
They know it as well. If you're going through the motions, they can feel it. And boy, you're going to know it. I've never done that in my life. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story because I've had 3 phases of this. When I was 35,
Mm-hmm.
having hit since 23, in the business since 14. And a journalist, I was doing a big interview, and a journalist said to me, when are you going to retire? So I gave him
What's that?
the glib answer that he deserved, And I said, when I turn my back on the audience and I shake my ass and there's silence. It's funny. Then I got into my 70s, and that quote followed me my entire career.
Sure.
People are always quoting me back on that. Into my 70s, I'm going to be 75 in June. Slightly changed it to when I turn my back on the audience and my ass shakes by itself, which is actually very funny. And now here on to what we're talking about. Here's my serious one. This only happened to me about 1.5 years ago. I now have a serious one.
Okay.
If I ever go on the stage, even one time is too many, one time, and I do not reach my personal standard that I know I have, I'm done.
And you still have not come close to reaching that, I'm sure.
I'm getting the best reviews of my entire career, calling me the entertainer. It's so much that my husband called me. He read me a review from Germany. He read it to me over the phone, and he said, "Did you write this?" No, thank you. No, I am getting the best. So, and for some reason, is there wood here? Wood. My voices go down as you get older,
Yes.
and mine's gone up, and I can't figure it out.
Is it also mellowing or is it getting raspier?
No, it's just I'm singing better than I've ever sung, and I know this is true because I have sound mixers who have mixed me for the past 50 years, so they know my voice.
Sure.
And they have said to me, "You're singing better than ever." And I think, how does that happen? Don't question it. Just say thank you.
Yeah, no kidding. Don't question it if it's happening and you're not trying to get there and it's just doing it. Yeah, don't question
It's
it.
just doing it. Yeah.
That's like finding the art. You don't go trying to find the art, it
Yes.
finds you.
You're honing it. I think, to be very honest, I'm 74. I feel that I'm at the peak of my creative abilities right this moment in time.
Well, don't tell people you're 74, Susie, because you don't look it or act it.
Thank you. But I do. I tell them on stage because I don't believe in lying about it. I'm proud to be 74 and doing what I do.
And how many of your contemporaries are still out there kicking it? Not many.
How many can?
Yeah, well, that's exactly my point.
Everybody says, how do you keep going? How do you keep going? First of all, fire in my belly.
Mm-hmm.
I have the passion. I truly, truly, truly love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's no bullshit. I love what I do. If I'm not rehearsing my show in my living room to the live CD, and I don't mean rehearsing it, I do the show. I even put the towel around my neck for the interval. My son finds that hilarious. If I'm not doing that, I'm in the gym. So I know. He said, you don't do that, Mom. I said, I do. But I went to a dark area one time. I was rehearsing just the other day, going for it, really singing full out, running around the living room, blah, blah, blah. And I actually went, hey, you over there, get off your ass. I went, Susie, stop it. Stop it. That's sad. But he was sitting down.
Do you do that to keep in shape?
Yes. Let's say you have a week or two off, okay? You'll lose your chops, the dexterity a little bit, even in that short space of time. You lose your lung power, your big power. So you put that bass on and you run and you sing and you sweat. And then when you go to do your gig, you're there.
You're still playing a bass that's almost as big as you, yeah?
That's always going to be the way. And I've actually lost an inch. Don't tell anybody.
Get in line.
Yeah.
Me too.
I hope you're talking about your height.
My height, yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, my
Sorry.
height.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
That's perfectly fine. I got it.
Look, I'm the one blushing. That's funny.
But you play this huge bass, the biggest bass you can play, right?
Only because I went to my dad when I was 14 when we started the band, and everybody shouted out, "I want this!" Everybody, "I guitar, drums, do," and I didn't speak, and that's just not like me. And I said, "Excuse me, what am I going to play?" Because I already played percussion and piano. I read and write both instruments. And my sister Patty, she said, "You're playing bass." I went, "Okay," I didn't mind. And I went to my dad, who is a musician. All of us in the family, all 5 kids, we play at least 3 instruments each. We all read and write. It's a musical family. And I said to Dad, "We're starting a band, Dad. Do you have a bass?" He said, "Sure." And he went and got me the 1957 Fender Precision. Now, I'm not going to pretend I didn't know there was a choice of basses. I didn't know there was a lighter one with a lighter neck or a smaller. I just know he gave me this bass, and this is what I had to learn how to play. So the reason why I'm such a good bass player is because I learned on the hardest, but I didn't know I was doing it. And then when I did go to the jazz, I was like Jimi Hendrix, you flying across, because you don't know it. But I actually still love the precision, even though it's up to here on me and it's heavy. I still love that bass. It plays beautifully.
Do you think that carrying that on stage for all these years has helped you stay strong because it forces you to use your legs and your back and so on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a big, big thing about being strong. In fact, just to slightly diverge, but when I was going to have my second child, and I'm small, so I had 2 cesareans. No choice. I'm just too little. I'm only 5'1". And he even told me the first time this is going to be, and I said, no, 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 no. So he let me go for 16 hours.
Oh.
And he finally said, Susie, you can't do it. So that was emergency. Second one, I stayed awake. And I went into labor, and you're not supposed to. Quickly got me to the hospital, and it was 10 days early. And the nurse was trying to give me the epidural. She was poking and prodding and poking. I'm in labor. And finally, she's on top of me going like this, trying to push it. And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "I cannot find your lumbar region," which means carrying that bass guitar actually fused it over.
Mm-hmm.
It fused it over.
Mm.
And she finally found it, but she said it was not easy. So yes, and when I sit even on a sun chair in the sun, I'm like this.
Upright.
And my back is really strong. I got arms like a wrestler.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah. I'm clumsy, and I finally figured out why. I knock everything over, but not on stage, off stage. I touch everything, it falls, I break, boom, boom, rip pages, glasses fall. The reason is because I've been playing bass for 61 years now, the tips of my fingers are actually calloused over. So when I've gone to grab a glass of wine, I don't feel it.
Mm.
And I don't know I've grabbed it yet. So consequently, it's on the ground.
Mm.
So, but this is why. I'm clumsy.
Wow. But it's worth it. Your clumsiness
Yes,
has been very much worth it. So, let's talk about your writing for a while. Like your music, you are very passionate about what you're doing as a writer, and that leaps off the page at the reader. So I'm wondering, did you know early on that you were going to be that intense and passionate about what you were writing, or is that just naturally you and it just comes out that way?
I think I started very young. I remember always painting, always writing, always doing poetry. My mother kept a poem that I wrote when I was about 8 called The Depression of a Rock and Roll Star.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me? Where did that come from?
No kidding.
And she kept it and gave it to me on one of her trips to England. So I had this in me for a long time. I wrote one about my mom sitting in her rocking chair. And yeah, I've always been that way. Always love the written word. I love the written word. And I love if I write something that touches somebody, a truth, unadorned and naked.
Your work cannot help but touch people. It's right in your face. It's not subtle, which is wonderful. I mean, it's
No, it's
rich.
not subtle. I'm not
No,
subtle. No.
no, and it's rich and full, and it's right there in front of you. So I think if you're reading what you've written, whether it's your poetry or your novels, if you're not being impacted by it, I think that says more about you than it does you, the reader, rather than you, Susie.
Well, like I said, I do hope to touch people. That's same as when I'm on stage. I want to reach every person in that audience, so they go out with a good feeling.
Hmm.
And in my books, I want to reach them with the truth, make them think. Because I'm one of those. I'm one of those that likes to. I read people very well.
Let's talk about Grave Undertakings, talking about
Okay.
truth. I mean, the book is just filled with truths. So tell the listeners, I gave the little tiny synopsis at the beginning about it just being in a college class, but tell the audience, our listeners, what the book is actually about. What was your point in writing it?
It started off, to be quite honest, as a collection of tombstones, and I came up with this great title, Grave Undertakings. What a great title! And I thought, how what a good idea to get all my famous people I know to give me quotes, and so I started doing it like 35 years ago. And I have all these quotes from lots of famous people. A lot of them are gone now, a lot of big names, da 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 da. And I finally thought, you know what, about maybe a year and a half ago, it's about time to put this book out called Grave Undertakings. I even had an idea to make it a cartoon thing and da 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 da. Da. And then as I'm assembling the book, something magic, like it does with creation, something magical happened. And I thought to myself, this is just not just a collection of tombstones. It's too easy. There's a story leading up to this. I want the readers to know why you care about what you leave on your tombstone. And
Hmm.
then I started to invent. Then I thought, now what can we, let me see, let me see. Ah, 6 psychology students meeting at a college course with an Austrian professor. And then we take them through their lives. Oh, what tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceit. So I went to eat, then I started to create, and I was having fun. I wasn't sure where it was going, but I got to know each character as I was writing them. And then I thought, okay, as you're writing, I think, okay, now he should be with her and she should be with him, and this should be. I was in a quandary. I don't want to give it all away. What would happen to the professor? I finally came up with the perfect ending. But everybody that's read it has said what you said. And I have a friend who two neighbors actually. They're a gay couple, and they're my son's next door neighbors. And he's a psychologist, and he read it and he said, "I'm going to use this in my class. This book."
Yep, it should be.
Well, so did you relate to a particular character? I'm curious.
No, I related to all of them because you have six characters and a professor who encompass a huge range of human emotion. And
Yes.
so I related to all of them in different ways because I think of myself as being a relatively complex person psychologically. And
Well, we
so
all
I was
are. We all are. Yeah.
right. And I was feeling what you were expressing with, or what the characters are expressing in the book. So did Grave Undertakings come from the Tombstone collection at first? Is that where it came from?
Yeah, I had that title and it was going to be Tombstones. And then it's just so much more. I just thought I was throwing away the tombstones in a book by itself, almost like a novelty. And it's more than that. It's so much more than that. And I do like mine. I don't mind telling people that I do like mine. I'm a Gemini, so I get two sides.
And what are they?
One side says, now I get it. And the other side says, too many dreams, too little time.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty
That's
good.
both sides of me. That's both sides of me, yeah.
And so here's what I'm fascinated about. Am I correct? You didn't go to college anywhere, correct?
I didn't even graduate high school.
All right. So now you come along, and all these years later, you've been on the road and you've recorded all this music, and you're well known throughout the world. And where in the world did your understanding, your education on all of this very intense psychology, where'd all that come from?
I am a very well read person. I will
Hmm.
say that. I don't read books, I eat them. Um, I've always had a quest for knowledge. That's always been in me. I'm very much motivated and always have been by what makes a person tick. You know, if we're having a drink together or a dinner, whatever, I'm looking at your eyes and I am dissecting you. So that's my character. I could have gone into that as a subject, but I am a good people reader. I'm a very astute people reader. I guess because me being the very sensitive Gemini that I am, was so ridiculously sensitive, stupid. Because we're so sensitive, we try to understand how to deal with that sensitivity. And to deal with it, we have to try to understand other people's sensitivities. So by thereby applying everything, I'm a very, very honest person. I can't lie. I don't know how to lie. My mother told me that. She did me a big favor. I was about 10. And she said, did you do such and such? And I said, no. And she said, Susie, don't lie. And I said, what do you mean don't lie? How do you know I'm lying? She said, because you can't. You can't. She said, your whole face just changed. So
Hmm.
she gave me a very honest path in life. And I can't lie. I do. I go red in the face. So anyway, I've always had an interest in this subject.
All right. So where did these six characters come from then? Because I think they each represent different facets of humans. And I
They
think that
do.
you thought that through quite clearly and
I
you spent
did.
some
I
time
did.
thinking that out. And the professor is sort of, I think, in a weird way, an amalgam of a bunch of them.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the professor.
I do too. He's kind of lonely.
Very lonely.
Hmm.
But because he's a professor, he bullshits his way out of it with his psychology until it comes up and bites him on the ass.
Exactly right. Did you spend a lot of time thinking about how it would plot through? Did you do an outline on the book? How did you get there?
Yeah, I did. I had basic notes. I have a little book, GU notes, and I went through it and I thought, okay, now what do I want to accomplish here? I want to take it through the people's lives. They all meet up, and so you want to go through all the entanglements that happen, and friendships that form, and lovers that form, and this and that. And I found six separate types of characters.
Okay.
So Penelope Perfect, you got her. I used a lot of my own character in that.
She's you.
Yeah. I used not all of me, but I used a lot of me in it.
Sure.
I used my husband, poor thing, as Max Morose, and he's German, and English is not his first language. And he said to me, what does morose mean? I went, and he went, oh, well, thank you very much. I said, you're welcome. I even signed his copy of the book to Max Love Penelope. um, and the other ones, I kind of used different important people that I had known that seemed to represent these characters. And I would think of somebody and then I wanted 10 classes to make it almost like a tutorial.
Hmm.
And then that made sense to me. Then I had to make the notes of what I wanted each class to entail. But then I surprised myself by one of the characters speaking up about, serial murderers. And I went, okay, here we go. So I sometimes didn't know where it was going myself. It's because the characters kind of dictate. Whatever you're writing, they start to dictate
They
where you're
start to
going.
talk to you
Yeah, they do.
you're not even doing the work. They're doing the work for you.
In fact, to be very blunt, when I got the physical copy of the book, I said, okay, I'm going to now sit down and read this as a reader. So I divorced myself. I'm going to read this. And so many times I read his passage and I went, somebody played that. Somebody changed it. I did write it. But that's what I mean when something takes over. I thought, did I write that? Yes, you did. So you're so involved in it that you do divorce yourself from it.
In a sidebar, does that ever happen with your songs that you've written?
Many times you hear it back and you're surprised. In fact, I asked my son that the other day. We were talking. because he's a writer as well. He's very talented. And I said, Richard, do you ever lose yourself in a song when you play it back? You're surprised? He went, all the time.
All the time.
Good. Then you're an artist. You're a true artist. Yeah. I can even watch on TV. I can watch and separate myself from who I'm watching, which is me, and just go back. And sometimes I go, I didn't like that bit there. It's not that you're schizophrenic, but there is a public part of you and a private part of you. Now, when I do my poems, that is my private part.
Mm-hmm.
And I say the novels are a combination of both private and public.
Well, I'm sure that you've gone back in time and looked at earlier writings of yours that you've not published, and you go, "Did I really write this?"
I know.
I do that all the time. Not all the time, but
It does happen. You can't believe it. Yeah.
it's very hard to believe that I really write that. That happens to artists, I think, quite frequently. You have a theme, or you have several themes running through the book. One of the themes is optimists versus pessimists, and each of the characters are labeled as, and they identify themselves as either an optimist or a pessimist.
And isn't that funny where it takes you?
Where did that come from? Why did you set out on that path?
Because it's one of my pet peeves when people. I'm an optimist.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe ridiculously so. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. But I don't like. Well, it's not that I don't like pessimists, but I find them fascinating. That I'll tell you a story about my husband. He's a pessimist, and we were on a trip to do a gig in Italy, and the gig was we had to take another plane and fly down into a valley.
Okay.
In the Italian Alps, okay, to do this gig. Fantastic. So I said, wow, let's take a walk and look at this scenery. Now I'm the optimist, he's the pessimist, okay? I said, Reiner, this job that I do, look, who else can say, look at these mountains. Look. And he looked around and he went, what if you fall down from there? And I could not stop laughing. So that is what you call pessimist.
Yeah.
He says it's realism. And I said, no. That's pessimism. He will always find, as pessimists do, if there's something white, they'll find the black in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And optimists see only good. That's why you don't want to meet me mad, because when I get mad, I blow like a volcano. But the good thing is I blow quickly and then it's done. I don't even remember being mad.
But you also have found a way to live with a pessimist so that it balances you out, I assume, somewhat.
It does. I always tell him, if you didn't have me, you'd disappear up your own backside. He doesn't argue. And I need him to sometimes take me back down from, I'm always high. He takes me back down. So I guess that's a real good match. It's a good match.
It sounds like it would be.
Yeah, we understand each other. We understand each other, and we respect each other's viewpoint.
So other themes that are in the book, and they're very strong, are life, death, and sexuality. Those themes are pervasive throughout the whole book. Life, death, and sexuality.
What else is there?
Well, that is life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was this over years and years and years of your being out in the world among humanity? Is that where these notions of each of these characters came from these people that you have sort of based the characters on? Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, it comes from life experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the best person you could sit next to anybody at a dinner party because I'm a communicator.
That's true.
So even if you sit me next to somebody who doesn't speak and is shy, I will get them talking.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my character. Yeah, and it's born from all the travels I've done. I've been toured the world for years now. You meet all different kinds of people. And I'm the kind also that people will always want to tell their problems to.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's because I actually listen,
mm-hmm.
and then I actually will give them my honest opinion and my take on it. So people tend to confide in me. So it comes a lot from that. I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of different people. I try not to judge. That's very important. I try to take everything at face value, and I take it in. When people tell me their stories, I internalize it. And I never talk about something I don't know.
Do you ever ask about something you don't know?
Sure.
You dig in.
Absolutely.
So you are an optimist. I'm going to assume you're also, the way you're describing yourself, also an extrovert, not an introvert.
I'm both.
You're an ambivert.
Yeah. I am very much an extrovert because I'm an entertainer,
mm-hmm.
and that's it. I will, like my sister used to laugh. She'd say, open up the refrigerator door and I'll do 20 minutes, okay. Just because the light comes up. That's that part of me. But when you hear my mom speak when I was young, she said out of all the 5 kids, I was the sweetest and the shyest.
Hmm. Wonder what that means. It means you've overcome that sweetness and shyness
I
to
guess
be the
so.
extrovert on stage that
I
you are.
guess so. But I'm still that little girl. I'm still that shy little girl. I still am inside. So it makes it even crazier. But I am a Gemini. Keep that in mind. I'm a Gemini. We are both sided.
You say you're the person to sit next to at a party. Are you the first person usually to start a conversation with someone? You introduce yourself and say,
Usually I will begin.
Mhm.
And I love it, especially when I see somebody that needs to be drawn out. I'm like a moth to a flame. I need to draw them out. And I'm good at I'm very good at making people talk about things they don't want to talk about. I feel it from them.
You're able to draw it out of them.
Come with me. You're safe. Do you know how that nice is to be safe for somebody that you can actually come out to?
Absolutely. Because most people are, I think most people that I bump into, they have a tendency to be a little reserved until they get opened up somehow.
Yes, I'm the opener.
You're the opener.
I'm the enabler. I am. In fact, I know I do this. I have a habit at. Oh, we're having a discussion today. We went out to some friends of my husband's that he went to school with, and we're doing one of these talks. Had lunch with them and talk, and we were talking about religion and politics and just all the things that you can debate about. And I'm very good at this. I posed a point in the middle of the conversation. I said, "Okay, which is more corrupt, power or money?"
Oof. Well, there's a big question.
It stumped the table.
I think money is a corrupter.
But I think power is the more powerful one.
Well, that's the old phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So
Yes.
there
Yeah.
you go. I mean, it is about
Yeah.
power.
And everybody kind of went stump. Everybody went quiet. I have a habit of doing that when we're at big functions. I asked. I was at my birthday party in 1970 here in Hamburg it was during COVID, so I had to wear a mask and everybody. And we got into a restaurant and there was about 20 people, and I posed the question, which was so interesting. I said, okay, it's my birthday, my rules. I'm going to go around the table. And the ones of you that come last have it easier because you've had time to think. Okay. But the first one, you've got no time to assimilate. I want to know the one thing in your life that completely changed you.
Ooh.
Boy, did I get some interesting stories.
Well, what's the thing in life that changed you?
The one that sticks out was, God, there's so many of them. The one that sticks out is I was 9, and my eldest sister, she's been married 7 times. She was getting married for the first time. Don't
7.
even go there. I know. She's a case all by herself. She was getting married for the first time. And I was just running around the house, having fun and all that. And I overheard a conversation in the kitchen between my mother and father. I wasn't eavesdropping. I just happened to hear it. You don't know at 9 or 10 to eavesdrop. You're just being a kid. And I heard them talking. And my dad said, well, Mickey, my only brother, he's the usher. Patty's a bridesmaid. Nancy's the youngest one, is the flower girl. What are we going to do with Susie? And my mother said, at least we need to buy her a new dress. Talk about life changing moments.
Hmm.
And what that left me with was a need to be somebody,
Mm.
with or without the dress. And there's a picture of me at my sister's wedding that I had framed. I held up her train the entire wedding. I wouldn't let go because I found a way to be part of this ceremony. She finally had to say to me, Susie, put my train down. But this is my personal psychology. This has probably got a lot to do with what made me me.
You, throughout the book, you must have done an enormous amount of research over time on this book.
Yes, I did.
You've done a lot of reading. Clearly, I mean, you quote liberally throughout the book from some very intellectual, high-toned philosophers, psychologists, psychiatrists. You've got Khalil Gibran from The Prophet in there. You've got Winston Churchill, Nietzsche.
The best book ever. The best book ever.
Which one? The Prophet.
The Prophet.
The Prophet. Oscar Wilde, you've got in there, Napoleon Bonaparte, T.S. Eliot, Martin Luther King. You've got a huge number, Mark Twain and Socrates. I mean, it's all over the map. So how long did it take you to acquire all of this knowledge? Is it a lifetime's worth of acquisition?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I am a reader. I have a unquenchable thirst for knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna write that down.
That's obvious. I mean, that's plainly obvious.
It's never enough. I want to know why, how, when, and I want to understand. I'm like a big sponge, but I have always read in all different kinds of things. I love biographies. I love reading poetry books. I love politicians. I love movie stars, especially biographies. You get what that time was like,
Hmm.
what the values were in that time, the society's feeling and all that. So biographies are very valuable. I read ridiculously heavy books. Nietzsche, Jesus Christ Almighty.
Whoa, that's very heavy.
Oh, I think in the dictionary it should say heavy description Nietzsche. Okay, I would love to have met him. I wonder if he was a pessimist or optimist. I think
Oh, he's a notorious pessimist.
he didn't even like people. I
He's
don't even know if he liked
notorious
himself.
pessimist.
Yeah, yeah, and heavy.
But you've also balanced that out clearly with some big time optimists.
Oh God, sure. Helen Keller for a
Helen
start.
Keller, I was going to
Yeah,
say, Martin Luther King. I mean, these are big time optimists
huge.
dealing with very difficult circumstances in life, and yet they're overcoming them, not necessarily easily, but with their own form of ease. And
Yes,
your characters, they have to overcome things within the context of the story as well.
correct,
They
correct.
discover things about themselves. Your book is why it belongs in a psych class is because it's about internal discovery.
You got it in one. It's self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? Take off that face that you put on when you wake up in the morning. Take off the bullshit that you've learned through the years. Strip yourself naked and see who you are, because that's what's important.
Well, don't we all put on masks all day long? When you're at the
Sure,
grocery store, you're not the same person with the clerk as you are with your husband. So you're putting on different masks all day
all the
long.
time. All the time. I always say I have a little theory, right or wrong, that when you wake up in the morning, you're in that sleep place, and somewhere in your brain you're thinking, do I want to wake up now or do I want to stay asleep? You're not actually sure if you want to wake up. And that there's a little space there where you're half asleep, half awake. That's who you are.
That's the real you. Is that what you're saying?
That's the real you. That's before you've put on your daytime mask.
Hmm.
You're not quite out of your nighttime dreams, and you're not quite in your daytime mask. That's who you are.
Yeah, that's very good. And I think that some of that comes through in the book too.
Yes, I think it does.
They're trying to figure out who they are. They're
Who they
in
are.
a kind of their own living dreamlike state.
Yes. That's why all the classes were important and how I constructed each class, and I had to put a lot of thought about who should get together and who shouldn't get together, and it all just kind of fell into place, really.
All right, so here's a big question. I taught screenwriting here in Pittsburgh for 10 years at a school called Point Park University, but you not only didn't go to school, but I'm assuming you've never taught a college level class. Would that be correct?
But I'd love to.
Well, so my question is, how did you know how to write about being in a college level class? Not only that, but a college level psychology class. How did you know how to write that?
I didn't.
Well, you did it
I
brilliantly.
just did it because it's how I think. I guess I always say it. People say, "What would you do if you hadn't do what you do?" And I would either have gone into psychology, so I have a big love of that, or you won't believe this one, I would have been a criminal lawyer.
A criminal lawyer? Do you read a lot of criminal law?
I do. I would have loved to have done it. I don't know why. I think I would be good because I'm good with words. So I think I would be able to argue my case
And
articulately.
you'd be a very passionate arguer. You
Yes.
would absolutely lay the case out in a courtroom and you would put on that a performance for the jury.
Yes. Yes.
And that's really an important part of being a good criminal lawyer, I
Huge.
think. Mhm.
Huge when you watch that.
I'm just wondering, you're a huge reader, as we've already talked about, how important to being a reader, a deep reader like you are, to being a good writer? Is that an important facet of being a good writer?
Maybe, but I'm not sure. I don't think one necessarily connects to the other. I think being a writer is part of being an artiste.
Hmm.
You have to be able to dig deep inside. Not everybody can do that.
For sure.
In fact, one of my favorite things is a lot of people choose to stay asleep in this lifetime.
Oh, without question.
So it doesn't always go hand in hand, but it did with me.
Well, so how did you learn how to write as well as you write? You didn't go to school for it, obviously. So how did you learn to do it? Just naturally.
I guess I had it natural. And I will say that whatever I do, to quote Ron Howard, he said to me, because we're still in email contact, me and Henry and Donnie and Anson, we're good friends, and we always do emails. And Ronnie one time said to me, during Happy Days. He said, Susie, don't ever take acting lessons. And I went, why not? He said, because what you have is natural. And I take that as to kind of whatever I do. It's a natural ability. It all comes from communication, artistry, passion, needing to entertain, needing to be somebody, which makes me go the extra mile. And at the end, you're nobody.
At the end, you're nobody, but you are way beyond nobody. Your natural proclivity is toward being out there and giving to people
Yes.
from inside of you, from your
Yes.
thoughts. And that comes from as a singer songwriter, as a performer, as a writer. All that's coming from somewhere in you, and no one is prompting you to do any of it. You're just doing it.
No. If I think about my life, and I want to get very serious about it for a minute, I found my path very young. I knew when we did our family shows, and all five kids, each one would do something. Mickey would play the piano, somebody would do a dance, whatever. Whenever I got up to do my bit, singularly, whatever it might be, sometimes I did a joke, sometimes I danced, sometimes I played the piano, sometimes whatever. The room would stop.
And that was a clue.
And I would know, and I couldn't have articulated this back then. Mind you, I can articulate it now, but I would know that I had something that held an audience. As I got older, it became the word charisma and X factor because other people told me that was what it's called.
Right.
But when I was young, I just thought to myself, "Oh, I can hold this audience." So it made me find my path, and it made me realize that I believe the good Lord put me down here to entertain and communicate and create. And that's what I will do until my tombstone goes up.
Were you fearless like that from the very beginning, where you'd get up on stage and you had no fear about being in front of a crowd?
In fact, the first gig that we did, I mean, we'd done all the home stuff before that, so playing bongos in my dad's band. The first gig we did at 14, we knew 3 songs, all same 3 chords. It's hilarious. And we got up to at the local dance hall. The guy let us go on. And I remember standing up there with my bass on, going to do the first song. And what ran through my mind, honest to God, was, I'm home.
Wow. How old?
14.
14, and you knew that this was it for you.
I'm home.
So many people, in fact, I think most people, I'm being very general here, but I think most people, one of the great fears in their life is standing in front of a crowd of people. It's a huge fear factor. For you, it's like comfort level.
It is comfort, but the other flip side of that is when I walk into a private party, I'm shy.
Then you're shy,
Yeah.
but yet you're still able to go and start a conversation with a stranger.
Yes, I am. But I'm not as out there as I am when I stride into the stage. That's a different thing.
Is that character walking on the stage still Susie, or is there a character on top of Susie that goes on
No,
stage?
that's still Susie. That's still Susie. But there is little Susie from Detroit and Suzi Quatro, and that's how I wrote my autobiography in the 2 characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was able to do it that way very easy. As soon as I came up with that 2 character idea, they're both me. And I remember I was finishing the book. I'm talking about Unzipped. And I went for a walk with my husband. We were in Spain at the time. I went for a walk. I said, I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. I got the ending. And I said, I'm going to make little Susie and Suzi Quatro become one person. And he said to me, that would be fiction. And that's why I'm married to him. He doesn't pull any punches with me.
He's fearless in front of you as an audience.
He is.
I think that Grave Undertakings would make a very interesting, if not a movie, it would make an interesting short series, a limited series.
Yes, I thought about a 10-part TV series, and I've got feelers out there now. Make a great TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And me as an actress, I'd have to have a part, but I don't know what part I'd play.
See, here's the thing what you've got to be aware of. If somebody's going to adapt that into a series, they're going to do with it what they need to do with it to make it a show and not be
Yes.
true to your exact.
Yes, I know. And I would be okay with that.
And well, that's good. So maybe you would play the professor.
Ooh, I'd love to do that.
See, and just change the character's name, and then there you go.
Or Max's mother. That's a
Or
real.
Max. There you go.
That's a sad case.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I hope that you get that, to go, because I think we don't see much like this on TV. There's a little
No,
bit,
you
but
don't.
this would be a very interesting and compelling series.
But I'm doing lots of publicity for it now, so I want to get it made into something else. Yeah, good stuff.
I think you should. I have been having just one of the most marvelous conversations I've had
We had a good conversation.
with Suzi Quatro, and we're going to wind the show down. And I'm wondering, can you share with us? You've always shared with us all these wonderful stories, but can you give us a story that's either weird, quirky, offbeat, strange, or maybe just plain funny from your life and career?
Oh, everything. Okay.
Everything.
Okay. I used to go to, I was at Catholic school, and my mother came to the parent teacher meeting, and the nun came out, Sister Inez, to talk with my mother. And she made me nervous, this nun. And the nurse said to my mother, "Your daughter drives me crazy. She's got too much energy and blah, 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 blah." And as she was talking, my hand wrapped around her beads, and we both tumbled over. So my mother took me out of Catholic school, but it goes further, and put me across the street at normal school in the next year. So I decided one day that I wanted to buy all my friends ice cream. Where the good humor man came every day to the school after school. And so I went into the church, which was across the street. I'm waiting for the lightning bolt. And I went to where you light the candles,
Right?
and I took all the coins out.
Oh.
And I went to everybody at the school waiting outside the gates. "Ice cream's on me."
Big spender.
But wait a minute. Here's the punchline. I did that just that one time. Felt really bad. Finally went to confession. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." I said, "You know that box that you put the money in to light the candles?" I heard him get up. He was coming to get me. "That's not fair. I was in confession. He should have just said, 'You're forgiven.'" I ran all the way home. And I did pay the money back quarter by quarter out of my allowance.
Wow.
But they did put locks on it then.
That is funny.
It is funny.
That's hilarious. And last question for you today, Suzi. You've shared with us this gigantic amount of advice throughout this whole show. And I'm just wondering, do you have a single solid piece of advice that you like to give to those who are starting out in the business, or maybe they're just in a little bit and trying to get to the next level?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, if you're going to play an instrument, first of all, play it. Don't play at it. Play it. Learn it. Okay? And the other thing is if you're going to be in this business, you have to give up a lot. It has to be your focus, your whole focus. It's my 11th commandment. It's my own 11th commandment. Thou shalt not bullshit thyself. Okay? Be sure you got the talent. And if you got the talent, you know you have it. And if you're doubting it, this business is not for you. It's a business of rejection. Your talent pulls you through, but if you haven't got the talent, you're going to go down under, and you don't want that. You don't want that. So be honest. Make sure you got the talent. Make sure you want to go through all the pitfalls, the ups, the downs, the ups and downs. You know, it's not an easy ride. And if you're going to play, play. And don't ever give anything less than 100% on that stage, or don't get on it.
I think that's really spectacular advice. And I've told people forever, this business is not for the faint of heart or the weak of stomach. And if you can't hack it, you might want to think twice about doing something else with your life. And what you're saying is absolutely true, that you've got to go for it. And if you're going to do it, you got to do it and do it and do it. It doesn't just come naturally forever. You have to keep at it.
No. And it's a shame. Like, I think, just to finish it quickly, I think reality shows have a lot to answer for, because I think they gave a lot of people who weren't fit to be in this business the wrong idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lose.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute he's flicking hamburgers. Next minute he's on a TV show having a production that even established artists don't get. The next minute he's back flicking the hamburgers.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
I'm not sure that's the right way. That's just my personal take.
You're right.
Not that I don't watch them. Don't get me wrong. I watch the shows because they're good entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know how healthy it is.
Well, it's very challenging for people who don't succeed from it. And sometimes it's very damaging to them. So I think you're right to point that out.
That's what I mean.
Suzi Quatro, what a lot of fun this was to talk to you today. And I'm so grateful for you coming on the show. And I'm truly grateful for your time, your wisdom, and everything that you've given to the world of music. And
my pleasure.
Thank you, Suzi.
Until the next time, thank you.
And so we've come to the end of today's Story Beat. If you like this episode, won't you please take a moment to give us a comment, rating, or review on whatever app or platform you're listening to. Your support helps us bring more great Story Beat episodes to you. StoryBeat is available on all major podcast apps and platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and many others. Until next time, I'm Steve Cuden, and may all your stories be unforgettable.